working on, wait, let me just set up my video there. Okay, great. So today we'll be working on the hips and the lower back, and we'll be stretching and making the muscles work to hopefully both increase your strength, your flexibility, and reduce any tension that you've got going on there. Lower backs are notoriously grumpy if you've been sitting down for extended periods of time during the day. So if you wanted to relieve some lower back pain, some of the exercises we're going to do today are going to be particularly good. So as usual, I'd just like you to start standing with your feet shoulder width apart. Then just take a moment to close your eyes and pay attention to what's going on in the internal space within your body. And just feel the weight of the ground underneath your feet. Notice whether your weight is being distributed left or right, or front or back in your feet. And begin to make some small adjustments with your eyes closed, adjusting your pelvis left and right, and just feeling how that shifts the weight from one foot to another. Next, I'd like you to then shift your weight forwards and backwards. Gently and slowly and in a small way, paying attention to when your toes begin to grip the floor to push you back. My flatmate's just going to come and grab something. Then when you go onto your heels, pay attention to when your toes begin to lift. As they lift, notice how your balance in your front of your legs and your thighs brings you back to the center. Okay, now find a position where your weight is distributed evenly between the front and the back of your feet and evenly between the left and the right. And that's where we're going to start today. The first movement we're going to do is a roll down. This is a fantastic opening movement for the lower back. And we're going to do a little bit of a tilting movement with the pelvis, like a mini thrust, at the end of the roll down, just so you can feel it stretching the lower back a little bit more than usual. So, starting from the top of your spine, tucking the chin in towards your neck, looking down and feeling the stretch descend the back of the neck. Try to focus on the stretch going vertebrae by vertebrae down your back. I don't want to see people bending in the lower back before their mid-back has finished the flexion. Feel the stretch descend your spine. Bend your knees. This is not just a hamstring stretch, this is more an opening movement. Now the movement when you get to the bottom, in order to increase the stretch in your lower back, you need to concentrate on keeping your pelvis in the same place. So you want to keep your hips the same place relative to your feet. Then what you're going to do is you're going to bend your upper body away from one foot and towards the other. So you're going to side bend your upper body. So from the front, this movement looks like this. I'm opening the space between my ribs and my hips on the side there. And I'm not bringing my hips with me. My body is not rotating, my hips are staying exactly where they are. And when you keep the hips where they are and open the side of your body, you should feel that stretch really opening that space between the ribs and the hips. Coming back, repeating the same on the other side. You almost have to push your buttock back away from your head as you're doing this. And it helps to kind of bend one knee and straighten one knee. So start to oscillate here, gently going from one side to the other, keep it comfortable. And as you come up, continue to go from one side to the other, straightening your spine and feeling how when you rock from one side to the other, you require a different pattern of muscle engagement to bring you back. Continue this movement by looking up towards the ceiling. Gently closing your jaw, keeping your tongue at the roof of your mouth, and arching your back, bringing your hips forwards and engaging your glutes, engaging those buttock muscles. Bringing yourself back, Gently going into a roll down again. Rolling down, feeling that stretch descend your spine. All the way down to the bottom and bend your knees. Take a deep breath at the bottom this time. Release any excess tension and begin to stretch out that lower back. Again, increasing that distance between your hip and your ribs on one side. Keep the pelvis and the hips facing the same direction as they did when you bent down. Change to the other side. When you feel the stretch, take a breath. Notice how the stretch intensifies as you breathe in and releases as you breathe out. Same thing on the other side. Stretch and take a breath. Feel the intensifying of the stretch and the release as you come back to the center. Rolling back up now. Engaging the glutes as you bring the pelvis into gear and lower back. And lifting the chest to stack your head on top. If you're feeling lightheaded, try and push some blood up to your head by tensing your body, particularly your legs. Now, looking up towards the ceiling, keeping that jaw closed. If you're a bit dizzy, wait a moment before you do this movement. And as you lean back, bring your pelvis forwards and engage the buttock muscles. And notice how those engagement in the glutes reduces the pressure you feel on the joints in the lower back. They are intimately connected, the buttock muscles and the lower back, and they work in synchrony. Okay, so nice and warmed up in flexion and extension now. We're going to go into side bending. And for side bending, if we want to focus it to the lower back and the hips, we've got to get these hips to be moving from side to side. So let's begin with that movement. Soft knees and just shifting your hips from one side to the other. And then as you start to shift and get used to the feeling, and it'd be great if you could place your hands on the outside of your hips so you can feel those muscles and that hip joint moving. Begin to then reach down the opposite direction to your hips. So you start to intensify that stretch and make it a bit larger as a movement. Keep it comfortable. Begin to slow it down. Then start going at a real snail's pace with this movement. The slower you move, the more aware you can be of what's happening and the more difficult it is for your brain to control. Remembering to keep that hip going the opposite direction to the hands. Get those pelvis dropping, and that's the leader of this movement is the pelvis. Notice if you're leaning forwards into it to try and get this movement done, or whether you're leaning backwards into it perhaps. Okay, a couple more repetitions of this. Try and keep your body straight and in the middle without leaning too much forwards or too much backwards. Good. Now, reaching overhead. Just getting a little bit more of that spine warmed up. Allow your weight to transfer as you do this, shifting your weight from left to right. Okay, we're going to do another 20 seconds of reaches. 20, 19, 18, 17, 16, 15, really reach, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and flop your arms down to the side. Let your arms swing and rest. Okay, rotations now. So, hands on the hips once again, and have your feet a little bit narrower than shoulder width, kind of on top of your hips, and start to make circles. At the beginning of the circles, you're going to go the opposite direction with your head that you do with your pelvis. And start to feel all of the muscles moving. When you bring yourself forwards, try and engage the buttock muscles a little bit to do so. Use the glutes. They're some of the biggest muscles in your body, some of the most powerful, and they're responsible for getting you up out of chairs, for squatting, for running, for stepping up and down stairs, and they're protecting your lower back. Okay, now without the upper body moving. So keep your head and your upper body in the same place. See if you can control your pelvis in isolation from the upper body. This is an entirely different movement and it should feel quite different. And you will certainly need to use those glutes and the lower back muscles and the abdominal muscles in order to get this movement done, and it helps to bend your knees a little bit. We're going to do 10 more circles to the left. Well, whichever way you're doing right now, do 10 more of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, when you go the other way, more bend in the knees, separate your feet a little bit, come into a sort of 3/4 squat, and this is going to make it much more challenging for the muscles in your legs and the muscles in your hips. 10 circles the opposite direction. 1, 2, 3, 4. It really helps to place your hands on the hips to feel what's going on. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Get good at this and you could walk into any 80s dance floor and you'd be the king of the dance floor. Okay, so shifting weight left to right again, but this time we're going to separate the legs quite a lot more. Feel a gentle stretch on the inside of the thigh. These muscles in the adductors, they also stabilize your balance and your lower back. So what we want to do is engage them slightly. For this, you need to have a slight bend in your knees. And what you're going to do is you're then going to be shifting your weight in the pelvis from one leg to the other. And as you do so, you're aiming to tilt this pelvis into the movement. So you're trying to tuck the top of your hip bone here down towards the thigh on one side. And what will happen is you should feel a real stretch on the inside of the thigh as you do this. And we're going to go slow with this one. So really slowly transitioning in and out of this movement. It actually really helps if you push away from the floor when you're transitioning from left to right. So use the push in order to bring your hips on one side to the other, stretching out those muscles on the inside of the thighs. Don't push it too far. You want to teach your brain that this stretching and opening is relatively comfortable. You don't want to teach it that it's painful and intense and needing to be protected against. You won't increase your flexibility if your brain is protecting you by tensing up your muscles. Okay, fantastic. Now, stay in the same position, engaging your feet as if you were trying to bring them together. Feeling both the activation on either side. And relax. And engage together. And relax. Now this time engage, but at the same time engage your buttock muscles. And relax. Engage the buttock muscles and bring the legs together to activate the inner thighs. This is an incredibly stable position and a stable muscle activation. If you were to engage these muscles and you were standing on the tube, you wouldn't need to hold on the handrail. It's a position that martial artists use a lot to, when in their stances if they want to resist force. It's activation of the same group of muscles. Keep going, activating the glutes and the inner thighs together. And come back to standing. Have a walk, see how it feels now to walk around with hips that are a little bit more open, a little bit looser. You're noticing the transition side to side in your pelvis a little bit more freedom to move there. So we're going to continue with the outside of the hips now, and this will require a little bit of balance. So I want you to stand on one leg and lift the other leg out to the side. Try if you can to keep your upper body straight. So I don't want to see too much bending completely, but I want to see a leg lift here. And we're going to do 10 of these. Go as high as you feel you're able to go, and wobbling is part of this exercise. Starting now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. For those who really want to challenge, point your toes upwards as you do so. 6, 7, 8, or your heels. 9, 10. Fantastic. The other side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Fantastic. Come back to standing. Squats now to get the buttock muscles engaged a little bit more. So feet just wider than shoulder width apart, making sure that the knees do not collapse inwards or bring yourself outwards too much. If your knees are uncomfortable doing squats, sit back into them as if you were sitting down on a chair rather than sinking into the knees. See the difference in that movement? One is sitting back, one is sinking down. Do what you're comfortable with. We're going to do 15. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Okay, great. Well done. Now, we're going to get the lower back working a little bit more. Take a breath. Nice and deep. Breathing out, and again. Nice and deep. Breathing out. So, for the next movement, it's going to be like kettlebell swing type movement, but you're going to be making a T shape with your arms. So, bending the knees ever so slightly. Your right hand is going to go in between your legs, your left hand towards the sky. Coming back to straight, your left hand is then going to go between your legs, right hand towards the sky. And we're going to repeat this 10 times each side. Again, go at the speed that's comfortable for you, go at the distance that is comfortable, and make sure that your body is feeling good in this movement rather than feeling painful or uncomfortable. So starting now, 10 on each side. 1, 2, 2, bend your knees. 3, use your glutes to come out. 4, thrust out of the movement. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, last one, 10, and 10. And stand up, shake out your legs, shake out your hips, shake out your lower back. Okay, fantastic. So, how much time do we have? Great, okay. So we're going to do the next series of movements on all fours. So we're going to be working with the pelvis again. So in this tabletop position, what you're going to be starting with is a tilt to the pelvis. So you're aiming to use the lower abdominal muscles and the glutes just to tuck your pelvis underneath and rounding in the lower back there. And you're just then going to transition into an arch in the lower back, tucking the pelvis the opposite direction. So you're looking for a flexion of the spine and then an extension. And really feel your pelvis working and try and isolate that from the rest of your body. You're looking at only moving the lower back and the hips in this movement and feeling how much range you have. If there's any pinching sensations when you go into this arch here, is there any jerky moments to this movement? Any bits that you feel you don't have very good control of? And we're going to do another 10 of these. So, tucking under, 1, and back, 2, and back, 3, and back. A little bit faster with these next ones. 4, and back. 5, 6, 7, and really slow with these last 3. Tucking back, feeling those little joints being loaded in extension. Tucking forwards, trying to start from the very bottom of your spine. Tucking back again, trying to start from the pelvis, not from the mid-back, not from anywhere else. Last one, really slow this time, snail's pace. Notice how much when you slow this down, you can feel happening. Suddenly you become more sensitive to what's going on, and it may highlight any jerky areas that you have within this movement. Keep it isolated to the lower back if you can, rather than rounding your whole spine. Tuck as much as you can, make sure that your glutes are working at the end, and back to the center. Good, okay, next movement is going to be a side bending movement. So much like the roll down that we started with, you're going to try and decrease the space between your ribs and your hips on one side. So bringing your hips over, decreasing that space, and over to the other side. Like a snake swimming through water. And you can reuse the rest of your spine to help you out with this movement, that's absolutely fine. If you get your head involved, bringing your head towards the hips as you bring your hips up towards the ribs. And we're going to repeat this another 10 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Really slow with these last 3. Slowly side bending your whole spine. 1, 2, and 3. Good, okay, same position now. If your wrists need a rest, sit back on your heels, shake your wrists out, bend them forwards and backwards. If you want to, you can come onto your fists or your elbows for these next movements if your wrists are complaining. So what we're going to do is peeing dog, basically. So you're bringing your hip out to one side, and a lot of people when they do this movement will try and adjust through the whole back. So you'll notice that the weight transfers onto the hand on the opposite side and the whole spine rotates. If you can stop that happening as much as possible, that will be much better because we're trying to isolate it to your hips, so your spine should stay relatively in the same place. You won't go as far, and that is fine. So once you've gone to the outside, what you're then going to do is straighten your leg back, out as far as you can, and bring it back to the center. Okay, and we're going to do 10 of these each side. So, starting with the right, lifting out. Keep that lower back to where it is. Push back. Keep that core locked in and stable. And down. Left side now, out to the side. Push back. And down. Right again, out to the side. Push back. And down. Out to the side. On the left, push back and down, back to the right. Keep that lower back locked in. You won't be able to go as far. That's fine. Good. That's 4 now. 5. 6. Okay, now nice and high with these last ones. I don't care if it goes into your lower back for these final reps. 6, 7 on the left. I probably miscounted, but that's okay. You're just going to have to do a couple more. 7, 8, straight and down. 8, straight and down. 9, straight and down. 9, straight and down, and last one, 10 on the left, straight and down, 10, straight and down. Good, relax your hips. Separate your knees, make them nice and wide, and come back into child's pose. Sinking your pelvis down towards your heels, feel free to tuck your toes underneath if that's comfortable, and rest here for a moment. Take a few breaths. as you breathe, sink your hips further back down towards your heels, and you can reach forwards with your arms and feel that stretch, changing position in your spine. Breathing deep. Last big breath. Relaxing on the out breath. Come back into tabletop. Drop your legs back down, tucking your toes underneath so that your toes are on the ground. I'm just going to point you down so you can see what I'm doing a little bit better. Okay. So, now you're lying on your front. Elbows are tucked into your lower ribs, so your shoulders are down, palms are on the floor. Your nose is going to be just hovering above the floor, toes tucked underneath. Engage your buttock muscles, engage your thighs as well. Look up towards the ceiling, keeping your jaw closed. Try an arch in the back, one vertebrae at a time. If you feel pressure in your lower back, then clench your glutes. Use the buttock muscles to reduce the pressure there. Come up into this position, breathe deep, and relax back down again. Once again, lifting up, starting with the nose. Keep that jaw closed, engage the glutes. Push up through the elbows, a little bit higher this time. And back down. It should not feel too pressurized in your lower back. If it does, it means your spine is pivoting in the lumbar spine, and you want to try and get it to bend in all of the vertebrae from the top down to the bottom first. One more time with this, looking up, rolling vertebrae by vertebrae, engaging the glutes, coming up and resting down. Good. Final exercise we're going to do today is going to be on the back, and it's a really lovely stretch for the lower back. You can do this with your feet resting on the floor, or you can do it with your feet lying like lifted up at 90 degrees at the hips and knees, with your arms out to the side, then dropping from one side to the other with your knees. For those who still have the feet on the floor, keep your feet together, but just drop one side to the other. This is a milder version, but still incredibly effective. So this is especially good for people at the beginning and at the end of the day, especially if you've been sitting down all day and you're looking for a gentle stretch in the lower back and in the side of your body. A couple more repetitions of this and just play with it. Look for the most pleasurable stretch. It should feel good to do this movement. And if it doesn't, do less. Good. A couple of last deep breaths. Breathing out and relaxing your body. And that is where we're going to finish today's session. Thank you very much for joining, guys. I really appreciate it.